Good morning, everyone. It's my absolute pleasure to host, I would say, the hottest discussion at this year's AMEC Summit, the discussion on geo measurement, and announce the Geo Principles and Practitioner's Guide developed by this group with the help of other industry leaders. But before jumping into the discussion, let me introduce to you our panel of absolute industry legends. I would start with our leader, James Crawford. So James, you all know him as a founder of a PR agency and a director of communications measurement business. You probably don't know that he's a father of 4 children, a new allotment owner, enthusiastic vegetable grower, and besides being one of the most active AMEC board members and ahead of our agency team at AMEC, he's also a collector of rare records, rare techno records, right? From Detroit and Chicago. He loves politically incorrect food, as foie gras, for example.
Correct.
And
There's a lot of deep insights.
Yeah.
A lot of details.
There's going to be a
what
Q&A.
else? Am I missing something important?
It's all
about
for the
it?
Gen AI.
Yeah.
Get online.
This is what the press release
Ben Levine, you all know him as the head of FleishmanHillard's True Global Intelligence practice lead at EMEA and former board director at AMEC. He's been involved at the very core initiatives of AMEC as the measurement maturity mapper, Barcelona Principles 3 and 4. Besides that, Ben is father of one less child than James. As I'm saying, in terms of children, we're all less than James. Ben is also a diehard fan of Boston sports and a huge fan of everything 90s, especially hip hop.
That's right. Some people know that fact. But now everybody knows that fact, including everyone online.
Right. Mary Elizabeth leads the data and strategy team at Ketchum, working to integrate data end-to-end in the communications process. She's been heavily involved in developing the geo offering of Omnicom as part of a cross-agency group. She's also a current board director at AMEC and a lead of our North American chapter. And a Jersey go through and through, looking forward to kicking off the summer season this Friday at the Jersey Shore.
I am. Yes, I am. It'll be this kind of weather, unfortunately.
Hopefully, a little bit better. Matt Oakley is a senior VP at Data Intelligence and AI at Hotwire, leading the global strategy of Hotwire in data intelligence, research, evaluation, analytics. Matt is also a current board director and has moved last year actually to San Francisco. He's originally British, but moved to San Francisco with his wife and dog. And he's a huge Arsenal fan. May I say congratulations on the trophy? So let me start with one obvious question. James, over to you. Why did AMEC feel that now is the right time to launch Geo Principles?
So after the AMEC AI Day, it was clear there's a lot of innovation happening, lots of great work, and I'm a big believer, like Johnny says, in just get on and do the work. Some great practice, some kind of nascent technology out there. We felt it was a good time to kind of take a step back. There were a lot of people doing some good things, but maybe also a lot of conversation around some of the fancy metrics that are out there in terms of visibility scores. And we wanted to look at the fundamentals of measurement, not just for consumer brands, but all our audiences, the corporate stakeholders, internal comms, personal brand. You know, the measurement that we put in place needs to speak to the whole communication community. So we set about having 6 months of solid conversation to do this, and you can see here today. I think John will tell us where the documents are available online. But we've created some principles, 7 principles, which we'll show you in a minute. And Mary Elizabeth helped, well, we all helped, but Mary Elizabeth finalised the 10,000th edit.
We all did.
We all did it. The final cut of the actual practitioner guide. And practitioners not just being PR practitioners, but analysts, measurement experts, all different types of practitioners in our even vendors, you know, need to take note of the guide.
So the principles are built around 3 lenses: upstream brand reputation, search readiness, and downstream LLM outputs. Why is this triangulation so important?
Who's taking this one? Shall I?
Who wants to start?
Do you want to
Do you
go?
want me- Okay. Go.
Take it.
Get started. You can build, Marilyn.
All
You
right.
can correct everything I say. So I think if we've just reflecting on the conversation we've been having the last few days in terms of information environments, the importance of listening, the triangulation important, you know, from my perspective, our perspective, is that if the LLM visibility is kind of where you're showing up, how you're showing up, it's still vitally important to understand what's influencing it. We just had a whole talk about influence, what we can do to change that, to think about that. So we need to be thinking multidimensional. We still need to understand, you know, coverage, conversation, all those different sources and platforms, communities where reputation is shaped, information is gathered, answers are curated. So you need to have that understanding in addition to just kind of focusing on, well, what does the final answer say when someone goes to ChatGPT or elsewhere to get that answer, to have the context around it, right? We are, yes, marketing to machines, but we also need to continue to be listening to the human input, the communities, those other stakeholders, and to be as robust as we possibly can.
Oh, do you want me to build?
Yeah, why not?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think if you think about the whole landscape from generative search, and a lot of this I think actually just came through in Johnny and Lou's talk, it is, what is your presence and visibility? What's driving it? And it's the accuracy of that. So the downstream is, what are those metrics, those key metrics that you're looking at? The upstream is, how is all of that content? What is your brand reputation? What are earned media publications writing about you, and how is that actually shaping how you are showing up downstream, right? That's where the content starts, upstream, and it flows down. And then the search readiness and the technical side of that is thinking about some of those tips that Johnny was giving from yourbrand.com, how you're structuring metadata. Even when you're thinking about YouTube, how you structure titles of YouTube videos is critical in how that is driving how you show up in the LLMs. If it's a very generic title, it will not be sourced and used as part of the answer. If the title is almost answering the types of questions that people ask, YouTube will show up. So it is really, it's not about one of these is more important than the other, but it is essentially how all 3 of these come together to guide the strategy.
Yeah, I think if you're just looking at one in isolation, you're just going to miss the picture, right? So if you take conclusions of just how you show up in LLMs, and you jump to the conclusions that we're doing great, we've got this much visibility. To use what Johnny said, that's kind of like an AVE for Geo. And that's kind of what we were seeing at AI Day, which led to this 6 months
Yes.
conversation. And I think you really need to look at all of the sides to build a picture, and then you can present back to the client, back to your stakeholders, as how that's showing up.
Yeah, I think a lot of people at the AI Day were trying to run before they could walk, and looking at these downstream LLM scores and things.
Results.
And you know, in this room today, we've got lots of experts who are experts at measuring brand reputation and all the different ways you can do it. And the good news is that process and PR itself has never been more relevant than it has been today. But the other point I want to say is, in this room, probably there's a lack of people who maybe specialize in search, and search is still very important. If you follow any SEO influencers or people, experts online, they will talk about search being the #1 driver of this. And actually, it's a triangulation of all the 3. It's important to get the metadata right on site, but it's not just about your site, it's about what's showing up in the search engine result pages. So if you're getting a media coverage that's not indexed, If the LLM goes to retrieve some recent information and it's not there, it's not going to show up. So that's quite why that we've got the triangulation there.
Thanks, guys. My favorite cliche, integrated approach to that. Let me challenge you in another question. How reliable are, in your opinion, AI visibility tools? And I'm asking that because I believe that many of us hear that question a lot from our clients. And in the absence of recognized methodologies in geo measurement, and so far, I mean, today we're launching the Geo Principles, but AMEC has been the first to launch these principles. There's been no best practices so far whatsoever. So what do you think in the absence of all that and so many AI visibility tools, are they reliable at all?
I think I'll take that first and then pass it down the line.
Down the line. Down order.
Yeah, I think they've been directionally useful, but I think I'd caution everyone to not kind of like use them as a single source of truth. So like you need to build the prompts that you're working with, as Johnny said, and implement context engineering into that. So the prompts that you're working with needs to have personas baked into it. It needs to have the context of what you're working with for your clients, so that the answers and what you're working with is relevant. But knowing that that isn't the whole landscape of AI search. You're looking at like a small portion because there is no central database for AI search results. So you have to treat it in that same way. So what you're working with is just kind of like what you can see in front of you. Obviously, the next time that you run another search, you want to keep that same control set so that the answers are relevant to each other. I think some of the things that we were conscious of is that people were presenting this data as kind of like the be-all and end-all, and that is, you're quickly going to go down a path of it being completely unreliable, and you can't get any actionable insights to work with from that.
Yeah, I would say from a tool perspective, and when you're looking at the data, how you're structuring the prompts that you're putting in is critical. Yeah. I'm going to prompt differently than Matt, and we would get two different answers. It will also give me answers based on what I've asked previously, right? So structurally, when you're working with any of these tools, you have to think about like using hundreds, if not thousands, of variations of prompts to get the most accurate, recognizing, right, that it's still a sample. Then you also have to understand, and I don't know if anybody's familiar with the term query fanouts. It's where the LLMs basically take your prompt and they chunk it into like 4 individual things. So if you're saying like, what's the best laptop for students, it'll go, what's the best laptop? What are students buying, right? It chunks it out. So it's going as far and wide as it actually possibly can, but it is still a sampling of what is really out there and the information that you're bringing back. The other thing I'll just say about tools, I feel like there's a new company every week, or existing organizations are launching new tools in this space. 18 months ago, we were not talking about this. Like, think about how crazy that is. 18 months ago, we were not having a GEO conversation. This is such an incredibly evolving, rapidly evolving space, so you have to kind of stay on top of what all different providers can do and mix and match. To Matt's point, how do you pull potentially from different providers to get the most complete picture possible?
Yeah, so obviously we're a very vendor-friendly group, and we approach that with that lens. There's a lot of great investment that's gone into this, and these tools are only going to get better and better. But you've also got to come at it from the point of view that there's no universe of prompt data. It's not like Google keyword data. You can go into the AdWord planner and get the exact volumes of what these searches are. There is no universe of data. So you're kind of guessing what people are searching for. And there's no evidence to show that transposing search keywords into LLMs is actually happening. Best running shoes of 2026. There's no actual evidence to say people are searching for that. Probably might be. So you've got to kind of come at it with an open mind and treat it as directional. And then you've also got to think about, like Mary Elizabeth said, about the amount of prompts you need. 50 prompts is nothing. and the variation you can get in the keywords, because people will prompt longer prompts, they'll put their own data in it. It's each LLM's programmed to each user. So you've got a lot of variation there, but use them with the 3 points, and you start to get a better picture. You start to measure your brand reputation, what's been said and in social. Search, you need to understand whether your website is actually ranking in search. Get involved with the SEO guys, but also look at the search engine result page in totality. What for those queries? You really need to understand that. And then look at the directional input you're getting from these tools, and you start to piece together a really strong narrative.
Yeah, I think the one thing I would add to all that is, from a tool tech perspective, is the need for us to really manage those systems. And to me, that is down to the points that Matt and Mary-Elizabeth raised around prompt variation, the approach to that. And so just being really methodical, really thoughtful in doing that, because you have to think of different scenarios of how individuals are going to go to these platforms, ask those different questions. What do those prompts look like? How do you categorize them? So to me, it's ensuring that from a prompt architecture perspective, you're doing that thoroughly based on objectives with the vendor, being as robust as possible, cataloging that, having that documented over time. So it's just really, I think, new tools, people get excited. I get excited. You want to just go on there, in a very easy click, 1, 2, 3, have an answer. I just don't think we can approach it that way. There's a lot more architecture and methodical, I think, planning before you even get into that analysis piece that has to go into it.
Yeah, because if you're only looking at a small subset of prompts, it's so easy to manipulate the answer.
Yes.
And we know that branded and non-branded prompts kind of produce different answers as well. So it's very easy to manipulate the prompts to give you the answer that you almost want to see. And that's where it's important to have rigor around all of this, which is what we've tried to do with the principles.
Another very important topic, I think, in the context of geo data quality and reliability, very much related to the data quality initiative led by Rob Key. Data and source quality have always been fundamental to whatever we measure and evaluate, whether it is brand, communications impact, or reputation. In the geo context, I think this is a challenge, and I know there's no obvious answer to that, but who'd like to comment on that?
Do you want to start?
So, Rob Key's done a lot of work with the Data Quality Initiative, and through this process, it really helped me understand a bit more deeply about that particular area. And everything we do as PR professionals, every piece of content you publish, isn't just a piece of content, it's unstructured data that could be pulled through with your various tools that are out there that we measure on a day-to-day basis. So if we're pumping out lots and lots of content to try and manipulate these things, eventually the internet will be flooded with nonsense. I think Sarah Waddington yesterday talked about an interview on Radio 4 where the other person, I won't name his name, said, flood the internet with crap, basically. That's a real risk, I think, if people do this the wrong way. We have seen with SEO, with digital PR, a real race to the bottom in terms of quality content, people just doing any old rubbish for links. So there is one of the principles there, just about from an ethical point of view, trying to keep people on the right line and in line with the Data Quality Initiative.
I'll just comment. The one thing to think about from a data quality perspective, too, is how the LLMs are retrieving information. We did a piece of work, an analysis for a client all around bird flu. They're the egg board. And they were trying to understand the bird flu issue and how the LLMs were giving consumers and others that were searching for this information. And one of the LLMs was cutting off quotes from the CDC. So the quote from some guy at the CDC was, "There is no known connection between bird flu and human disease," right? Lauren, I got this right? In the LLM, it truncated it and said, connection between bird flu and human disease. So it was actually, from a quality perspective, what was an accurate piece of information, the way the LLMs were processing it was actually spreading misinformation. So really digging in and understanding some of the nuances of what information the LLMs are basing their answers on is critical, and the quality of that. So you know then how to manage against it. So hugely reliable source, third-party credibility, CDC, half a quote used, that was spreading misinformation about bird flu and eggs. So even under the best circumstances, you have data quality issues.
Yeah, and I think you're speaking there data quality within the models themselves. I think also on the other side, part of the data quality is incumbent upon us as users of new tools and techs to really understand how they work, right? So what is their approach to generating prompts? Do they have a panel involved? What is their approach to dealing with audience or market variance from one to the next, right? We've had situations in the past where we're looking at data, we wanted it to be European, and it turns out they had to VPN to create these prompt engines, and they weren't VPN for the right market. So that means all the data you had, it's not the right data because it's not giving the market representation of what might be appearing there. So it's just like all these little nuances. So data quality, I guess it's upstream, downstream to carry on with the theme here. It's incumbent upon us to really understand the data quality issues as it pertains to the answers that are visible relative to our brands, our clients, et cetera. But then it's also incumbent upon those providers to be transparent, to be forthcoming with how they do it, and for us to really have, I think, detailed conversations so that we're the domain experts of what tools and tech are providing in this space.
So one of the principles says that we should distinguish between visibility and impact. What does that mean in practice?
So obviously visibility, when I'm talking about visibility, downstream LLM visibility, those scores, that percentage score that I'm sure you all want for your decks, is that from an AMEC framework point of view, you all know it. I don't need to go through the taxonomy of it and all that, but we need to measure impact, and impact can come in many different ways. One particular way, obviously, is I think you'll find little blue links are disappearing off Google, and a lot of the time with LLMs there are fewer links. There are more and more sort of appearing with various pieces. But you can track the referral traffic by all means. That's starting to you can measure the impacts of that. But you've also got to start to think, well, if people are just reading about your brand and understanding the message, it's a brand reputation piece. You need to track what your stakeholders are thinking and how it's changed. So in a way, it's like it can be like measuring old school print media or broadcast or something like that. From an impact point of view, it could be what's that brand visibility doing? What's that understanding that it's building? What kind of consideration? It is kind of the classical building blocks of measurement. I don't think in that respect it's hugely new.
No, I think, and if you reference back to the integrated evaluation framework, it's measuring those same outcomes and impacts that are part of that framework. How does generative search and LLM answers change what people think of your company, how they will behave towards your company, and into the future, that whole idea of agentic commerce is where, I'm going in, I'm throwing a dinner party, give me, what should my menu be? Now go buy me everything, right? And that right there is direct impact from a branding perspective. So it aligns to, and you'll see in the paper in the practitioner's guide, it aligns very specifically to the IEF. So there's a red thread throughout.
Yeah, we've tried to make the guidance as practically beneficial to everyone as possible, because we want these best practices to be implemented across all of the work. And I know, not to sound like a broken record, but the visibility score is the vanity metric of, GEO. So I think understanding how you're showing up, where you're showing up, kind of how often, and understanding that in the full context, because from the analysis that we do with clients, so many outdated results pull through, and if you're only looking at like a top line number, you're getting a incomplete picture. that's just going to lead you down the wrong path.
So for just 18 months, we managed as an industry to create a vanity metric out of it.
Everyone wants the easy metric, right?
Yeah,
But I think it's important to have the rigor around.
So how do you think these principles apply beyond consumer PR, beyond consumer communications?
I mean, I think there are huge implications from a broader reputation perspective. If you think that some of the stuff that Sandra spoke about yesterday from broad reputation, we have a lot of clients that it's not consumer PR to sell brands, but it is more industry reputation shaping issues that they're looking through that lens. So I think it's reputation based, it's product based, it can be anything, and the principles and the guide, I think, apply across the board. Healthcare communications, public affairs, all of it.
Yeah, I mean, at Fleischman, some of our biggest clients are public affairs, corporate affairs, health and life science. They're all interested in this space and are looking to us for guidance and how to understand how their corporate brand is showing up, how their products are showing up, what are the issues that pertain to their business license to operate. And, we've seen, obviously, we see the shifts in behavior across audience types. It's just people behavior, right? We're all changing the way we interact. So it's not just, a consumer goods space. It's applicable to all domains of communications.
Yeah, I have so many other questions. I know, John, I'm looking at the time. I have many other questions, but we are sure that you also have some questions to our panel.
But we don't have time for those questions now, so you will need to ask them.
4 minutes.
No, that's red. That's your overtime.
Sorry.
Sorry.
You'd think seasoned panelists would know what the red means, but no, it's fine.
They think because it's my favorite color, red would mean good here. They are incorrect. So, okay, amazing. Round of applause for our panel, please.